one. And I mean, for all the transfer talk, it is important, people. It is about on the field, but also off the field. So there's been a lot happening recently. And I know that kind of came as the embargo on Friday night, didn't it? Andy Robbo as the vice captain. And it's interesting what Slot said about, the culture of the club and the dressing room, because people have looked at that and thought, well, he doesn't really play. He's not a starter anymore. Do you think it is more linked to behind the scenes and needing that in light of everything that's happened?
Yeah, I just think it's kind of recognition of his seniority, but also kind of his position as a real leader in the group. I mean, it's said to me by people behind the scenes that he's underrated in that aspect. Really, people see him as a bit of a joker, and he is a funny guy, and he's popular in that respect. But in terms of what he offers as a leader, is kind of underrated. And I think people maybe said they wanted Salah to get it, and obviously he would have absolutely been deserving because, again, very much a leader behind the scenes, and he will wear the armband when Virgil's not in the team. That's absolutely guaranteed. But I think there's, you look at how many games will Virgil miss this season, and the ones he misses, who's more likely to be on the pitch? It's probably Robertson. So, thinking League Cup games and any kind of games where there's rotation, Robertson will be on the pitch, and therefore, he will pick up the armband in those situations. So, and like I say, there's no doubts about anyone close to it in terms of that he was the right pick for this role. So, and I don't think it's a case of Salah being snubbed or overlooked or anything. I think everybody knows how important he is as well, and like I say, he will wear the armband. But it was the feeling is that Robertson absolutely deserved that recognition. So I think a good pick as well. And I think it's obviously he's in a bit of a strange situation earlier this summer where he had the option to go and didn't take it, wanted to stick around, and I'm really glad of that because there's been enough turnover and enough loss of people you would consider leaders. So really important to keep him around, and I'm glad he's got this role.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think you're right. I'm not sure it matters too much. There's leaders in that dressing room like Alisson, Salah. Everyone knows who they are, regardless of whether they're wearing an armband or not. But good news for Andy Robertson, and good news for another player, Cody Gakpo. This kind of came from nowhere. I think it was a Dutch journalist had it, but this renewal, good move for Liverpool?
Yeah, definitely. I just think he's been a very good signing for Liverpool. Again, he came in that period where people have kind of been critical about some of the signings that were made in that, the Pep Linders signings or whatever. But Liverpool didn't they didn't completely take their eye off the ball in terms of recruitment. I mean, that Jörg Schmadtke window, for example, obviously look at how successful that was. And, Cody Gakpo, obviously a different window, but he falls into that category of, and I just think he's been very good. He's just, you forget because he's massive how young he is as well. His peak should still be ahead of him. He's already scored a lot of goals for Liverpool. He had his best season last season. He's, the kind of main man on that left-hand side now, really liked around the place, switched on, good character, and a good footballer as well. And I think he's had a strong start to the season. So great to get him tied down. I think a really smart move. And yeah, I think there's even more to come from him. I think he can get better.
It will be interesting to see how he gets on this season with the lack of, I say, senior competition, but we'll see if Ekitike with these outcomes maybe challenges him there. Another off-the-field news. I mean, we've got the dates now, but the Champions League draw, when you look, it starts with Atletico at home. It ends with, I'm going to call them Carrier Bag at home, so I don't know how to pronounce it fully. But what have you made of those fixtures in the draw?
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad a draw again for Liverpool, in my opinion. I think, the kind of that Atletico Madrid, obviously that's a tough one, and you've got Inter away as a really tough one. But, to have Atletico Madrid at home, to have Real Madrid at home, that's always really handy. Like I say, that Inter one away from home is a tough one, but I'm not quite sure they're the team they have been. I think another year on the legs of an oldish side will probably, they might not be at the level they've been in recent seasons. And then the rest of them, they kind of feel winnable. I mean, Galatasaray away, again, the gap between the Premier League and the other leagues is so big now that's maybe not the test it used to be in years gone by. Definitely big atmosphere, and they'll try their best to make it tough for you. But, it's a more winnable game than it has been maybe 10, 15 years ago. Eintracht Frankfurt are a good side, but again, this gap between the Bundesliga, PSV at home should be no problems. Marseille away, again, that's an atmosphere one, but I just think Liverpool should be winning that. And Qarabag at home, pretty gentle. So, outside of the, Inter away, we'd say kind of on paper is the toughest of the lot. I just think Liverpool should be getting through on the basis of that, really. And I'm confident they will do. When you look at the shape of the team and the signings they've made, they should be pretty confident. And I think it'd be interesting. I don't think Arne Slot will be as dead set on finishing top this time. It's absolutely worthless in the end. So, I think that's going to be a consideration. In fact, I'm reliably informed that that's going to be less of a consideration for Liverpool. They want to finish in that top 8, but not too bothered about whereabouts they are in it, because I think last year showed that there's no real benefit.
Nah, not at all. And it's interesting how many reunions there are, because that's a reunion, the Frankfurt game for Hugo Ekitike. Cody Gakpo gets a PSV reunion, but there's a certain reunion on Tuesday, the 4th of November. In a good possible way, it'll be a hostile environment, especially for someone, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the rights and wrongs of booing Trent Alexander-Arnold when he was a Liverpool player, I don't think anybody doubts for a second they should be absolutely getting pelters when he comes to Anfield for that one. That's going to be pretty incredible. And yeah, just one to look forward to, isn't it? To have all that storyline around it is really exciting. And obviously the game against Real Madrid last season was really good fun. You forget the Xabi Alonso element of that as well, which adds something extra. So really, really exciting games to look forward to, and glad we've got them at Anfield again, because I think that always makes things easier for Liverpool. So Liverpool should be looking to, they got over the hoodoo last time. They should be looking to do it again this time, and start to make their record against Real Madrid more favourable.
Fingers crossed on that one. And I suppose the final one, we are 3 games in, and I mean, we've had a bit of everything from Liverpool. What would you say have been your biggest learns from the Premier League's first 3 rounds so far?
I don't know. From a Liverpool perspective, I still think we've just not seen the best of them, so it's hard to make any kind of sweeping judgments. I think what you can say is that will to win is still there, and Liverpool are going to be right up there again. I don't doubt that for a second, because the way they've kind of ground out the victories here, in a way that, by the way, honestly, we were speaking to Arne on Friday, kind of around the embargo section. He kind of talking about the fact that, people forget how hard it was last season and how much they had to fight for wins. And so, you can get a bit down about what they've done so far, but they had to do that so many times last season. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other occasions this season where they have to do that. But I also think that they're going to play even better as well. So I think what we've learned maybe is that, Liverpool are going to be right up there. I wonder, again, you don't want to make sweeping statements this early, but we said before the season kicked off, I think you and I had a conversation about, have City fixed their problems? Maybe not. Have Arsenal fixed theirs? Maybe not. So, Liverpool, I think we've learned anything that said Liverpool should be, I think they should be favourites to go on and win the Premier League. I've not kind of wavered from that, but obviously a long, long way to go. There'll be all sorts of developments in teams that get better at doing X, Y, and Z, and they start to hit a purple patch, and someone hits a bad run of form, and all these storylines we've got to get through over the start of the season. But I just can't get away from that. If you are a fan of any other club in the Premier League and you look at Liverpool, they're the only team with a perfect record. They've made the signings they've made. They're going to make more signings today, and they're already the champions. I mean, you'd be concerned, wouldn't you, about what's about to happen in terms of that league title. So, really, really good start for Liverpool.
A brilliant start. Not the best performances at times, but perfect in terms of the points, which is what matters. So there we go, ladies and gents. Suze, a brilliant result yesterday with a moment of brilliance. Like you, we're all watching to see what develops in this transfer window with only a few hours left. And I suppose I'll give you the final word on this. Are you expecting to be working right the way through till 7 p.m. and past possibly on this one, David?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a late one. I mean, the Gay one in particular, Isak should be wrapped up hopefully pretty early in the day, but Gay is still dragging on at the moment. We wait to see whether Glasner will give his sign off on that deal, or whether there's going to be kind of an internal war at Crystal Palace and they sell him anyway. So I think that's going to drag on because he's got to get up here, get the medical done and all that if he is agreed. So I think it's going to be a late one, but it's an exciting one, and hopefully Liverpool get the business done that they need to. And, if they do, like I said, you just can't imagine a better mood around the place than, having had the summer window they've had to add these 2 players today, plus the top of the league, perfect record. They're already the champions. Things are going to feel pretty good around Anfield.
Fingers crossed, indeed. Well, there we go, ladies and gents. We'll be watching the same as you to see what develops, but it is a feel-good factor all round. All it needs me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the insight, not quite killing the Morgan Rogers dream. I'm not going to say thank you for that, but for everything else, it is much appreciated.
Oh, no problem.
And ladies and gents, that was another Media Matters for Anfield Index.